Neptune is a company that I formed several years ago now to bring specialist telecommunication services to the region. By the region, I mean the Caribbean and Central America region. It was really formed to help make sure that this part of the world remains connected to the internet, and we focus really on providing services via satellite and via mobile. But we do it in a way that makes it secure and resilient and robust for our customers. Our customers are businesses and governments in the region. We don't offer services to the general public at a retail level. We focus primarily on providing specialist services, particularly in the area of what we call public safety communications. And that is a specialist area that deals with making sure that all of those folks who run the critical infrastructure of a country, like the police, like the fire service, like emergency management folks, like hospital folks, ambulance folks, public health clinics and so on, that they can remain connected and aware of what's happening around them, come hell or come high water, literally. And what has happened up until recently is that they have depended on standard telecommunications systems, which are ones which tend to be built for a specific purpose, but not for when the high winds come. There's specialist equipment that the police and fire and so on have for their own purposes. You may have seen the walkie-talkie type things. Those systems are moving to the point where they're becoming not obsolete, but they're solutions that are more powerful and much more economical and scalable, that allow them to do a whole lot more with what with each particular officer who's connected. And so our company really was formed to make sure that what we call that public safety community becomes truly and properly enabled with communications and technology that allows them to keep us all safe and preserve our way of life. We're doing fantastically well. We have a big office in Jamaica, which obviously a much bigger market than Barbados. So we have a big team there, a big office in Old Hope Road. We serve customers in Barbados and Jamaica right now. We had a customer in Haiti until recently as well. So we're attracting the attention of a lot of very big industry players around the world, not just around the region, because I think what we're doing is quite innovative. What we're doing and the way we're doing it is something that has not been done in very many other instances anywhere around the world. And so as I go through my deliberations with partners and investors and customers and so on, I think when we speak to what it is we're doing down here, folks are very intrigued, very interested, very excited by what we're doing. And so we have a whole range of very talented people working with us here. We have a sales agents who move around speaking to customers about what we do. Their day involves, I would imagine, lots and lots of phone calls, meetings, driving around meeting people, explaining to them what we do and the benefits of it and so on. We have our engineers who are working to test new equipment to make sure that our customer equipment that we've set up on their premises is tuned properly. We monitor our customers' signals 24/7, 365 from here. And then we have folks in Jamaica who are doing the same thing in a much bigger operation there. So it really, a day and from my perspective, it really revolves around talking to investors, talking to our international partners, our technology platform partners, and making sure that our message is being delivered loud and clear. Well, I referred to earlier in the world of the public safety community, which is one that doesn't get a lot of attention. Let me just start by saying, when hurricane season comes, we get all the warnings and the messages about tin food and water and putting up first aid supplies and so on, and doing from a household perspective what you need to do. What Neptune is concerned with is making sure that those agencies and officers and people who you really are depending on to help bring the country back online, that they actually have what they need. Never mind the householder, but the people who are supposed to bring the country back online, are they really properly looked after from the perspective of, are they able to remain communicated? Can the Prime Minister reach the Attorney General? Can the Police Commissioner reach, whichever superintendent he needs to do for this? Is the EM, all their people in the District Emergency Organization folks, are they connected? Are we able to come back, for example, after a hurricane? So what we are doing is we've designed some solutions around providing what we call resilient telecommunications infrastructure and services that use a lot of the existing infrastructure that we have in place, but bring new technology to bear. Some of the equipment you see around you is equipment that is the only ones of its kind, as far as I'm aware, in this region, this part of the world. We've been working very closely with folks in the police, service. We've been talking to a number of the other public safety agencies about how we enable them and make sure that they can remain connected through any kind of disaster. And it's not just a matter of sort of providing new technology. A lot of what we're doing is we're training. We're providing a lot of training. Our technical team in particular spent a lot of time training the Barbadian public safety community about how you use this technology, because that is a very key part of the whole resilience thing. People say resilience and you think of, well, something that is strong and hard physically. We also believe that having Barbadian officers, people, technologists themselves here on the ground, capable, trained, educated on these systems and how to use them, that's a key part of resilience. Where in the people who operate these systems, they need to be here, right? So a big part of what we're doing is bringing that resilience to the teams and the people who run the country, who operate the day-to-day parts of the country that you go through your day and never really think about. Who are the people who are really making sure the country is running smoothly and properly? And those folks have different needs from a communications perspective than you and me and the general public. And our innovation, without going into too much detail on it, really revolves around bringing a real robust, resilient set of communications capacity, internet and mobile service capacity to them, so that they don't have to worry about whether or not they are online. And just by way of quick background, the genesis of this idea was from the 9/11 terrorist attacks in the US, when I was working in the US. And a lot of the pandemonium and chaos that happened afterwards was because folks could not communicate with one another. And in this day and age, we take it for granted until somebody takes it away from you. So you can imagine what happens when, what happens when the internet goes down now, or your cell phone is not working. No, it's like a problem, it's a real problem. So we are making sure that the learnings from what happened after 9/11 and all of the improvements in thinking and systems and ways of doing things have been improved since then in the world of public safety, that they are being brought to our world here, because we need it more than anybody down here, because we need to become self-sufficient. We need to be able to make our way in the world as we've always done. And it's a brave new world in the world of technology, and we're behind the curve. We are behind the curve, and by the grace of God, we haven't really been tested yet by a real man-made or natural disaster, and that's what we are making sure that we get those systems and those relationships and that capability in place for the region. The training that we're providing is technical training, so it really revolves around helping officers and officials understand how you use these new systems and technology for their work day to day, right? So the behavioral changes in terms of how you do your job every day, that starts to now needs to be sort of described in terms of what you can do now. So just to make a simple example, 50, 60, 70 years ago, if you were a police officer, you were issued with a whistle and a truncheon and sent out on the beat. And the next generation of officers were issued with a radio. Well, all of a sudden now they can talk to their colleagues, and it empowered them in amazing and interesting new ways that allowed them to do their jobs much, much better than before. Now we have a situation with Neptune where we're going to be allowing them not just to talk, but to view and to text and to do all the things that you and I and the public enjoy on a mobile device. And that mobile device will be operated on a very secure, robust network. And that network is really the key to what allows them to be able to trust that it's going to work, and it is going to be able to be, functional when they need it. Okay, it's fine to have a cell phone, day by day as things are fine, but in crunch time, as the 9/11 example points out, and any kind of hurricane season, we run the hurricane gauntlet every year here. We need to make sure that in good times and in bad times that these people are properly enabled. We are aware of that. That's a really important part of the kinds of new ways they're trying to enable public safety officials and officers around the world, not just in Barbados. And precisely the point about how it is that you make proper use of those cameras is that they need to be networked. So they need to ride on the network the way your cell phone rides on the network, which is seamlessly and easily, without having any kind of fanfare. And so any kind of connectivity with respect to the feeds that come off of those cameras, that's exactly what we are suggesting to them ought to run on a network like Neptune's. And I think that in fact, the police have made some very important strides in terms of their own ability to keep on the front edge of technology in the crime fight. They have struck out in front and taken an important leadership role in adopting some of this technology. But there's just a lot to be done. There's just a lot to be done. And it's no good putting new technology down and saying, here it is, use it. Yeah. Okay? It's one of these things where there needs to be a real partnership, and that training piece of it and the trust that you need to have to be able to do that properly is an important part of what we're very proud of. This question of cybersecurity is an enormously important problem, and in the region generally, Barbados, among the region, we're very vulnerable. Okay, very, very vulnerable. And part of the reason we're so vulnerable is because we don't have many experts running these networks, corporate networks, government networks, even the telco networks. The cybersecurity space is a new one, and we need more experts on the ground every day, making sure that the policies and procedures from a network administration perspective are best in class. And until then, we're going to be exposed. And that's the reality of it. And so the way we deal with that is that we sort of take the view that the networks that what I would call national security traffic, that needs to be run and operated on a controlled, robust, trusted, separate network. Okay, and that's exactly what we are proposing, and we've made a proposal to government on how we would do that, and we are waiting follow-up now on exactly when government is going to move on that. But it would take all of the, and I would argue, for instance, that public health information, everybody's medical files, not national security, but it is not something, in my view, that you should be having run over a public network, in the sense that that is traffic and that is sensitive information which really needs to be on a controlled, monitored network for use only by people who ought to have authorized access to it under whatever conditions are set up by policymakers. And that's what Neptune is going to be doing. Anything that is connected to the internet is going to be exposed to hackers. Okay, so as soon as you plug in, you need to have protections on your side of your network that make sure that you have done everything you can to make sure that you're protecting the network. It's also true that your policies, how people are trained in using and accessing your local area network and your devices that sit in the computers and the files and so on, that is, typically speaking, a very important area of exposure, where people aren't properly trained in how they're supposed to save files, how they're supposed to delete files, how they're supposed to organize information and so on in the brave new world of the internet and so on. And anytime you have a network, as we do, where it's open and exposed to the internet, there's going to be that risk. Our view is that when you say, that things cost money, you know what costs money? When the whole country is turned off from some hacker somewhere else. That's going to cost money. Right. No, that is money with a capital M. So, and we do have this tendency to sort of worry about, well, what's it going to cost me now, without really understanding the implications of what it's going to cost you if you don't do it. Okay, and we're starting to see that, and there are a number of other companies that you haven't mentioned that have been hacked and paid enormous amounts of money and cost to get out of that. And it's an important part of what we're doing is to make sure, first of all, that our customers are aware of some of those issues and how they can start to protect themselves, how they can get access to securer networks and systems that keep them more protected than they currently are. But from a policy perspective, from the government perspective, there's obviously the Ministry of Innovation and Science and Smart Technology and so on. They, I think, take the lead across government on this. And my view is that they have a lot. They're very, very busy. Very, very difficult for them to find the resources and the expertise to solve the problem. And we, as a private sector partner, we want to be a part of the solution. Well, I think that an important part of the message that we want the world to know is that, coming from we always talk about coming from a small island or small countries, and we compare ourselves to other countries around the region, and we say, well, we're doing well, and we're, and so on and so forth. The message that Neptune is bringing is that we need to be raising our view and our standards and our outlook to world-class standards. And so we have a view as a company that there needs to be a focus on world-class and excellence in everything that we do as a company, and everything that we do every day as professionals at Neptune, and that we encourage our customers to think not just sort of what's best demonstrated practice locally or regionally, but what is the very best in the world? How do you become a world-class company, right? And that's really what we're in the process of trying to help them enable, through making sure that they can remain online and they get access to the services and the solutions which allow them to do that and use technology to change their businesses. And so that message is really, don't settle, don't accept mediocrity, and that you have to raise your expectations and your standards to world-class levels, and that's what we're doing. So any organization that has reached the top or thinks it has reached the top has got lessons to learn, because I say this all the time, we're a learning organization. Every single day we have to get better, we have to learn more and do better. And that's true for all the big companies right around the world, from Microsoft and Tesla and ExxonMobil and the rest of the world. Anytime you slow down in an industry like this, you're gonna risk stagnation and obsolescence.